Welcome to History Explained, where we illuminate the past to better understand our present. I'm your guide to your daily journey through the past to empower the future. Today is Saturday, July 12, 2025. As we do every Saturday, we're exploring a significant military engagement that shaped the course of history. Today, we turn our attention to the Battle of Stalingrad, fought from August 1942 to February 1943, which marked the turning point of World War II on the Eastern Front. This brutal urban warfare campaign became one of the largest and deadliest battles in human history, ultimately destroying an entire German army and beginning Nazi Germany's irreversible retreat. What makes the Battle of Stalingrad particularly significant is how it demonstrated the limits of German military power while showcasing Soviet resilience and tactical adaptation. The victory fundamentally shifted the momentum of World War II and proved that the Wehrmacht was not invincible. So let's explore this pivotal battle, examining the strategic context that led to the confrontation, the brutal urban fighting that characterized the campaign, the dramatic Soviet counteroffensive that encircled German forces, and the far-reaching consequences for the war's outcome. The road to Stalingrad began with Hitler's decision to launch Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, on June 22, 1941. Initially successful, the German advance stalled during the winter of 1941–1942, failing to achieve the quick victory that German strategy required. For the 1942 summer campaign, Hitler chose to focus on the southern front with Operation Blue, aimed at capturing the oil fields of the Caucasus while simultaneously taking Stalingrad, a major industrial center on the Volga River. This dual objective would prove to be a fatal strategic error. Stalingrad held both practical and symbolic importance. The city was a crucial transportation hub connecting European Russia with the Caucasus, while its capture would cut Soviet supply lines along the Volga River. Moreover, the city bore Stalin's name, making its fall a potential propaganda victory for Nazi Germany. The German offensive began promisingly in June 1942, with Army Group South advancing rapidly across the Ukrainian steppes. Soviet forces, still recovering from previous defeats, initially offered limited resistance as German and Axis forces pushed toward their objectives. However, Hitler's decision to divide his forces between the Caucasus and Stalingrad weakened both attacks. The German Sixth Army under General Friedrich Paulus was assigned to take Stalingrad, while other units moved south toward the oil fields, splitting German strength at a crucial moment. Soviet resistance stiffened as German forces approached Stalingrad in August 1942. Stalin issued his famous, "not one step back," order, forbidding retreat and establishing penal battalions for units that withdrew without permission. The city's defense became a matter of national survival. The battle for Stalingrad began in earnest on August 23, 1942, when German aircraft conducted massive bombing raids that destroyed much of the city and killed thousands of civilians. However, the rubble created by bombing actually provided better defensive positions for Soviet forces. General Vasily took command of the Soviet 62nd Army defending the city, implementing tactics specifically designed for urban warfare. His forces fought from building to building, using the rubble and ruins to negate German advantages in tanks and aircraft. The fighting became incredibly brutal and personal, with soldiers battling for individual rooms and floors. Snipers became particularly important, with Soviet marksman Vasily Zaitsev becoming legendary for his skill in picking off German officers and soldiers from concealed positions. German forces gradually pushed deeper into the city, reaching the Volga River at several points and controlling approximately 90% of Stalingrad by November. However, they could never completely eliminate Soviet resistance, which continued from isolated pockets throughout the urban battlefield. The Soviet strategy focused on bleeding German forces dry while preparing a massive counteroffensive. While Chuikov's forces held on desperately in the city, Soviet commanders Georgy Zhukov and Alexander Vasilevsky planned Operation Uranus, designed to encircle the entire German force. The German position was precarious, with extended supply lines and flanks protected by Romanian, Hungarian, and Italian forces that were less well-equipped and motivated than German troops. Soviet intelligence identified these weak points and planned to exploit them. Operation Uranus began on November 19, 1942, with Soviet forces attacking the Romanian Third Army northwest of Stalingrad. The Romanian lines collapsed within hours, allowing Soviet armored spearheads to advance rapidly toward their objectives. A second Soviet attack on November 20th targeted Romanian and German forces south of Stalingrad. Within 4 days, the two Soviet pincers had met at Kalach, encircling the entire German 6th Army and parts of the 4th Panzer Army in what became known as the Kessel, or Cauldron. Approximately 250,000 Axis soldiers were trapped in the encirclement, facing the choice between attempting a breakout or remaining in position while hoping for relief from outside. Hitler ordered them to hold their positions while promising air supply and a relief operation. The air supply effort, led by the Luftwaffe, proved completely inadequate. German transport aircraft could deliver only a fraction of the food, ammunition, and medical supplies needed by the encircled forces, while Soviet air defenses took a heavy toll on transport planes. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein launched Operation Winter Storm in December 1942, attempting to break through to the encircled forces. However, Soviet defenses held, and the relief effort came within 30 miles of the Kessel before being forced to retreat. Conditions inside the encirclement deteriorated rapidly as winter set in. German soldiers faced starvation, frostbite, and disease while ammunition supplies dwindled. Morale collapsed as it became clear that no relief was coming. General Paulus requested permission to surrender in January 1943, but Hitler refused, promoting him to field marshal while reminding him that no German field marshal had ever surrendered. This promotion was intended to encourage Paulus to choose suicide over capitulation. The final Soviet offensive, Operation Ring, began on January 10, 1943, systematically reducing the German pocket. Despite fierce resistance in some sectors, the outcome was inevitable as German forces lacked the strength to maintain defensive lines. On January 31, 1943, Paulus finally surrendered the southern portion of the pocket, followed by the northern section on February 2. Of the original 250,000 men encircled, only about 90,000 survived to become prisoners, and fewer than 5,000 would eventually return to Germany. The Battle of Stalingrad resulted in the complete destruction of the German 6th Army, one of the Wehrmacht's finest formations. Total Axis casualties numbered approximately 800,000, including dead, wounded, and captured, representing an irreplaceable loss of experienced soldiers and equipment. Soviet casualties were also enormous, with estimates ranging from 1.1 to 1.3 million dead, wounded, and missing. However, unlike Germany, the Soviet Union could replace these losses and had already begun the process of rebuilding its military strength. The strategic consequences of Stalingrad were immediate and far-reaching. The destruction of an entire German army demonstrated that the Wehrmacht could be defeated in major engagements, encouraging resistance movements throughout occupied Europe and bolstering Allied morale worldwide. For Germany, Stalingrad marked the beginning of a strategic retreat that would continue until the war's end. Never again would German forces launch a major offensive on the Eastern Front, as they were forced into an increasingly desperate defensive struggle. The battle also accelerated the development of Soviet military capabilities. Red Army commanders gained valuable experience in planning and executing complex operations, while Soviet industry continued expanding production of tanks, aircraft, and artillery. Politically, Stalingrad strengthened Stalin's position both domestically and internationally. The victory demonstrated Soviet resilience and fighting capacity, earning greater respect from Western allies while solidifying Stalin's control over the Soviet Union. The battle's impact on German society was profound, as the destruction of the 6th Army could not be hidden from the German people. Joseph Goebbels declared total war in response to the defeat, but public confidence in ultimate victory was severely shaken. For the wider war, Stalingrad encouraged the Western Allies to maintain their pressure on Germany while demonstrating that the Soviet Union would survive as a major power. This realization began to shape post-war planning and Allied relationships. The tactics developed during the battle influenced urban warfare doctrine for decades afterward. The experience of fighting in destroyed cities provided lessons that would be applied in later conflicts, from Berlin to modern urban combat situations. The human cost of Stalingrad was staggering, with the battle becoming a symbol of the Eastern Front's unprecedented brutality. The civilian population of Stalingrad was virtually eliminated, while both armies suffered losses that exceeded those of entire previous wars. Stalingrad also demonstrated the importance of logistics and supply lines in modern warfare. The German failure to maintain adequate supplies to their forward forces, combined with overextended supply lines, contributed significantly to their defeat. The battle highlighted the effectiveness of Soviet industrial mobilization, as factories relocated beyond German reach continued producing the weapons and equipment needed for victory. This industrial capacity proved crucial to ultimate Allied success. Modern military analysis of Stalingrad emphasizes the importance of realistic strategic objectives and the dangers of pursuing multiple goals simultaneously. Hitler's decision to attack both Stalingrad and the Caucasus divided German strength at a critical moment. The battle also illustrates the value of defensive preparation and the advantages that determined defenders can gain in urban terrain. Soviet forces turned the city's destruction into a defensive asset, demonstrating how tactical adaptation can overcome material disadvantages. The Battle of Stalingrad stands as one of World War II's most decisive engagements, marking the point where Nazi Germany's expansion was definitively halted and reversed. The victory demonstrated Soviet military capability while beginning the long German retreat that would end in Berlin. The courage and sacrifice of both sides in this terrible battle remind us of warfare's human cost while highlighting the strategic importance of industrial capacity, logistics, and political will in determining military outcomes. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of the Battle of Stalingrad. Tomorrow, we'll be back with our Innovations and Inventions episode examining the development of radar technology and its crucial role in military and civilian applications. If you enjoyed this journey through history, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. What aspects of the Battle of Stalingrad do you find most significant for understanding the Eastern Front and World War II's outcome? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, I'm your guide for History Explained, where we believe that understanding yesterday is the key to navigating tomorrow.